Hey, we welcome in Jonathan Mayo from MLBpipeline.com. A great time to talk with Jonathan. We are 3 weeks to the start of the first-year player draft. And, Jonathan, of course, excitement in Birdland, 1-1. They're picking with the first pick for the second time in team history. All the mock drafts seem to continue to point to Adley Rutschman, the Oregon State catcher. Do you think that will change in the next 3 weeks, or is it going to end up being the catcher from Oregon State?
I think what will happen is we're likely to keep him on mock drafts up until the last minute, and then you never know. The one thing with Mike Elias that he learned while he was in Houston is, one, they keep things very close to the vest, and two, they really explore any and all options. They're not afraid to go in a different direction. If, say, they decide they want to save a ton of money and then be a little aggressive later on, they don't have a ton of extra picks. So I don't know if that will work quite as well. And at the end of the day, there could be some arguments over who they think is the best player in the draft. But if I were a betting man, and I'm not, certainly not for the draft, but I had Adley Rutschman in my mock draft last week. I don't do the next one Jim Callis does, but the one after that, unless I get some really solid information, and I'm not expecting to, Rutschman will continue to be the number one guy. He's the number one guy in terms of talent on pretty much every ranking and draft board.
In terms of that talent and players who have been taken 1-1 in recent years, how does he stack up?
Well, I think he stacks up pretty well. We were talking about a guy who is one of the best hitters in college baseball. He hits for average, he hits for power, he's walked more than he's struck out. Oh, and he's also a plus defender behind the plate. He's got a very good arm, good catching and receiving skills. I think the all-around combination of tools that he has puts him right up there with some of the better players. And I don't know that we've had a college bat that to be as excited about, especially when you fold in the defensive ability. I mean, even a guy like Nick Senzel, who obviously is now doing great things in the big leagues, was probably undervalued a little bit, even though he went number 2 overall to Cincinnati in his draft year. But there were questions, is he going to play third? How athletic is he? When you have a guy like Rutschman who can hit, he can hit for power, and he plays a premium position, you don't see that very often.
One question I've heard some people bring up about Rutschman, not him specifically the player, but the position. A catcher in the major leagues is going to start 120, 130 games. A shortstop could start 162. Is that something to be considered here?
I guess, but look around Major League Baseball. How many elite-level catchers do you see in the big leagues catching 120 games that you think are tremendous players? Yes, they don't play as many games, but they're involved in every single pitch. I think the impact that a catcher has for 120 games is as great, if not greater, than a shortstop or any other position for 150 games. Sure, Bobby Witt Jr., who's number 2 on most boards, is a very, very talented player. He's also a high schooler. So it may take him a little while longer. I think you could make an argument that he may be the most talented player in the draft, the most tooled-up player in the draft. But if you're kind of trying to find a balance between high upside all-star potential and sort of safety, a high floor, then Rutschman is your guy.
So, Jonathan, the Orioles' Mike Elias obviously has experience here. He's been involved with 3 number 1 picks in the past, Correa, and where there was some money savings that helped him get Lance McCullers. So does that experience help him now? How does it factor?
Of course, it has to help him. There are few people in baseball who have the experience that he has. He picked number 1 overall 3 years in a row. And as he told me, in a story, he learned from the success in Carlos Correa. And yes, they were creative there. And Correa's turned out to be a terrific player. And not only did they get Lance McCullers, they got Rio Ruiz, who they then turned into a trade. So that draft ended up really being valuable. But he also learned from his failures. The other 2 number 1 overall picks, Mark Appel is retired and Brady Aiken is with the Indians and struggling. So he's learned the pros and the cons, the good things and the bad things that can happen when you take you take that first pick. And I think he's going to use all of that wealth of experience in trying to inform what they do on June 3rd.
Well, an exciting few weeks are upon us. Jonathan Mayo, we look forward to your continuing coverage on MLBpipeline.com and all you guys will be doing on MLB Network over the next few weeks. And thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Steve.